Are you thinking about moving to the Seattle area? I hope so. This is what this channel is all about. It's for people who are relocating to Seattle, and I have all sorts of pros and cons and do's and don'ts and things that you should think about when you're relocating to the area. Today I want to be positive and focus on 10 reasons why you should definitely think about moving and choosing Seattle as the place that you want to live. So first I will say I am a little bit biased. I have lived in the Seattle area almost all of my life. I grew up here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, just at the top end of Lake Washington. I'm in a suburb of Seattle called Lake Forest Park, and it's gorgeous. I'm also a real estate agent, so part of the reason that I do this channel is to help people who are thinking about moving to the area to research what it's actually like. But if I didn't love it, I wouldn't still be here. And so I'm going to tell you the good and the bad, but today we're going to make it all positive stuff. Now make sure you stick around to the end because I am going to tell you a surprise that you might not have heard before. So the number one reason I think that you should think about moving to Seattle is because of our extremely strong economy. We have a flourishing economy that ranges across the board with all sorts of different jobs. This is a highly educated area, and it's a very desirable place to be from an employment perspective. We're kind of the Silicon Valley of the North. We have a lot of tech jobs. We have a lot of engineers who are here at Boeing doing all sorts of stuff with, international companies, sales, marketing, law firms, CPA firms, medical facilities, lots of hospitals here. There are just a lot of really good, really smart people doing all sorts of jobs in different fields. So if you're not sure either what you want to be when you grow up, or maybe one spouse is relocating for a job and the other spouse is going to be scrambling and looking for work when you get here, the good news is we probably have work in the field that you're interested in, and it probably pays fairly well. Now it'll be interesting to see in our new kind of mobile economy if that continues to be important, because maybe everybody will just be permanently working remotely, but that's not the trend that I'm seeing. Even though my husband and I are both working remotely and he is in the tech field, there are certainly calls for people to come back to the office to be working together on site. And so I think that as the years roll by, that trend will continue and firms will reconsolidate for the most part around this in-person office experience once again. So keep an eye out on that. That's certainly a trend to watch. But I think jobs-wise, we have a high concentration of smart, well-educated people here. This makes it a very desirable place for employers, and we have a diverse economy with all sorts of huge companies hiring here, having their headquarters or at least branch offices here to take advantage of our workforce. Number two, I will say this is a very diverse area, both in terms of race and a lot of other factors, including nationality. So because of this sort of mecca economy that we have where everybody's coming here for jobs, we have all sorts of different people who, only about, my understanding from the statistics is that less than half of our population is someone like me who grew up in the area. About a third of it is people who came from other parts of the United States, and then about 20% is people who have come from other parts of the world. We have people from India, from China, from Korea, from all over the place who have come to this area to work and for opportunities. So that presents a lot of wonderful opportunities to meet all sorts of different people, and it's a very inclusive and welcoming area in that regard. So I think that no matter what your original language, where you're from, what you look like, you should be, based on my experience, very well accepted and able to get work and make friends and probably find other people like you as well here in the greater Seattle area as a whole. On that note, I mentioned inclusivity. I believe that the Seattle area is also very welcoming to people from all different creeds and backgrounds, whether that's different gender identities, different sexual orientations. Seattle is considered a very liberal and progressive city, and so I would say it's very welcoming, if not encouraging, of all of those types of lifestyles and orientations. So if that's your bag and you're not sure like where you can go and feel safe or feel accepted and make friends, you will find a lot of people who are right there with you going through all of that here in the Seattle community. So you will be able to find a home that supports you in that regard as well. Number 4, the next one I'm going to say is our extreme natural beauty of the area. If the Pacific Northwest, if you've seen photos, if they appeal to you at all, you'll be absolutely amazed when you get here. We have a majestic city skyline, to be sure, surrounded by water, reflections, lights at night. It's gorgeous, but that's the city. What I'm talking about right now is the water, the trees, and the mountains. So we have mountains in both directions. We have the Olympic Mountains to the west, looking out over the ocean. We have the Cascade Mountains to the east, looking back toward the continental United States. And so, in some of these ranges and the Rockies and everything, you'll see mountains everywhere you drive. If you drive south, you'll see Mount Rainier. If you drive north, you'll see Mount Baker. Beautiful snowy mountains, real serious mountains, and we're kind of in the middle of it here in the Ring of Fire. Along the, there's a circle that goes around the Pacific where different volcanoes have been, like Japan, Hawaii, and the Seattle area. So Mount Rainier is a dormant volcano. Mount St. Helens is a volcano that erupted about 40 years ago and spewed ash all over the state. And now they sell little like Christmas ornaments that are glass balls made from Mount St. Helens ash. So that's a cool souvenir that you can get when you're here. It's a wonderful area for salmon. We enjoy a lot of fresh seafood being here on the ocean, and there are so many fun things to do. Whether you like hiking, whether you want to rent a kayak or inflate a kayak and put it out onto one of our mini rivers or lakes, you can sail, you can water ski, you can do all sorts of different things that involve being outside and really take advantage of the rich blessings around us. And I will say, when I do get visitors here from the Midwest, or when I lose clients, maybe they've sold their house and they're now in Florida or some other place that's flat, the number one thing that I hear is, I miss the mountains. I miss the beauty of the Pacific Northwest. They may be getting some hot weather or something else that they were going for, but they are really missing the shape of the land, the hills, the mountains, the trees, the fresh air that makes this area so beautiful and inviting year-round. Number 5, the next reason you should consider living here is because we are super dog and cat friendly. We actually have more dogs than children in the city of Seattle, and we have more cats than dogs. But for dog people, I think there's a lot to be said for community, because you want to take your dog with you and make him a part of your lifestyle. So we have a lot of employers and workplaces that are animal friendly, dog friendly. You can bring your dog to work with you in a lot of places. You can also take him for walks, take him for, in restaurants in some cases. And there are also a lot of dog parks and off-leash dog park opportunities, which is a really good way to meet other people in Seattle. Actually, I will slip in a negative, which is that Seattle has a reputation for being a little bit cold and standoffish. They call it the Seattle freeze, and it's just a culture here where people can tend to keep to themselves. Imagine that it's a city full of introverts and we're all just doing our own thing, but we're not necessarily coming up to you and getting in your business and saying hello and making sure that you feel welcome. So you have to be the one that does that. We're not going to do it to you. So with that being said, having a dog and going out with a pet is a great conversation starter. It's a great reason to pause. It's a reason for people to come up to you. It's just a nice way to chat and start those conversations and connections to other people, which some have felt that we are lacking in this area. And not to say that it's a bad place for children, but it's an especially great place for dog owners. So speaking of children, I think it's a great place to raise kids here as well. Not that I'm biased, but I was a kid raised in Seattle, and I think I turned out pretty well, and I'm raising my own children here as well. The city of Seattle, the downtown area itself, can be a little bit dicey. I'm not going to lie. I think it would be a challenge to have a child being raised in like a downtown high-rise condo or something. People certainly do it. I've seen it done, but not being able to come downstairs and play outside, I think, would be a loss that I would grieve as a parent or a child who did not have that opportunity. So I prefer at least for my kids, you know, having them play outside, that's a value to me. Like I said, I like the Pacific Northwest outdoors. So having a little bit of a yard or a park that I could take them to is an important part of my lifestyle for my children. And that's more difficult to do if you're living in urban downtown Seattle, where you're going to be, you know, in the concrete jungle. It's hard to drive. You don't have great, you know, parking facilities. You have to go on the bus to get places. It can be expensive to keep a car. So that's just something to think about if you're downtown. But I do think that the suburbs of Seattle, and especially the Bellevue side, anything on the east side of Lake Washington, has fantastic schools. We have some really wonderful places to raise kids. And like I said, it's a very well-educated area. So a lot of the population really values education, which comes down to a lot of great schools, a lot of good private schools, and a lot of nice colleges and universities in the area, including the University of Washington, which has an excellent national reputation. Flipping to the other side of the spectrum, if you're older or in poor health, one thing that a lot of people look at and screen for is access to medical facilities. And boy, do we have them. From the Seattle Children's Hospital, which is just for kids, to the Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, Harborview, which is a great emergency and trauma center. We have all sorts of different hospitals with all sorts of different specialties and some of the best medical professionals around, different surgeons, oncologists, just excellent people, and a lot of different facilities to choose from. If you should need care or ongoing medical treatment, you will be spoiled for choice. Number 7, and I risk sounding a little bit dorky when I say this, is our library system. We have really good libraries here, very nice physical facilities to go into and take advantage of, from the architecturally amazing downtown Seattle library with walls of light and windows going in every different direction, to our local Shoreline library where I take my kids and used to go for like Seattle or for children's reading time and that type of thing. They have a great physical locations, very nicely kept, very large selection of books on hand. And from there, they have good access to things like interlibrary loans. So if I'm in the Shoreline library system, I may be able to borrow a book from the Seattle library system, even though one is through the city and one is through the county. So there's good cooperation that way on the exchange of physical books. They also have a lot of resources, reference librarians who are just on call to help you answer questions if you don't know how to access all of the library's facilities. And then they have a lot of apps that allow you to listen to audiobooks, listen to music, books on tape. It's really an amazing free resource that I encourage everyone here to take advantage of, because it's great to buy books from Amazon, and I love it too, but it's even better to get them for free and make sure that you and your kids are really reading and taking advantage of all that that has to offer. Number 8, I'm going to say, is public parks, and I have a few favorite parks that I want to point out to you. So north of downtown Seattle is the Magnolia neighborhood, and on the Magnolia Bluff is a huge park called Discovery Park. Acres and acres. They have forests, they have grassy fields, they have hillsides down to the beach. They have a sandy beach. They have a historic lighthouse and historic naval buildings from the time when that area was used as a military installation. And I see all sorts of different people here walking, jogging, you know, hill climbing on weekends and during the week, but I don't ever get the sense that it's overly crowded or congested. It just feels safe, feels like a wonderful place of community, and I really enjoy taking my kids here because we can just wander and explore for hours at a time. They have a cool playground as well, but I personally like the hiking, and in the summer picking blackberries there. So make sure that if you are in town and you need to work off some energy, that you hit Discovery Park in Magnolia if you have a chance. It's fantastic. Another park that I really like, which is another huge park, is St. Edward State Park, which is in the northeast end of Lake Washington. It's on the lake, it borders the water, and in so many of these lakeside areas, we have hills treed, forested hills that go down to the water. So you start at the top of the hill, feel like you're in the treetops because you're at a level with trees that are growing further down the hill and are now grown up to your eye level. So you can see all sorts of plants and animals of what's going on high up in these evergreen trees. And you make your way down the trail through ferns. You'll see a banana slug on the trail when it's wet. You might see some stinging nettles. If they hit you, don't worry, because you can rub that spot with ferns, and the little, not pollen, but the spores on the bottom of the fern leaf will cancel out the nettles. So nature has our perfect medicine right there for us. My son actually goes to an outdoor school where he spends hours outside on the weekends on Saturday, and he learns how to sharpen sticks with his knife and make fires and identify plants and herbal medicine and things you can eat and do outside in nature. So he's had a wonderful time, and it's largely thanks to our parks and our beautiful Pacific Northwest region that we have all of these different things that we can do safely and comfortably here. But I really encourage you to spend time in the park. St. Edward's actually has an old building that was part of a monastery that was there, and now it's been purchased and restored. So it's a hotel. It's a destination hotel in the middle of this park, and it has they've put in a little restaurant and a bar where you can get cocktails and listen to live music. It's an amazing wedding venue. You're just out in these green grassy fields surrounded by woods, and you can hike down to the water. And then adjacent to this park is the Bastyr University campus, which focuses on degrees for medical professionals who are studying for like acupuncture, herbalism, naturopaths, a lot of the healing arts that are outside of the traditional MD pathway. I imagine that they also really benefit from being in the beautiful environment as well. So that's another blessing, is these fabulous parks that we have around here. And then last, I'm just going to highlight, well, I guess number 9 now, is the amazing resources that we have culturally. So I grew up watching all kinds of sports. We had Mariners baseball, we had Seahawks football, we used to have the Seattle Supersonics, but now we have the Seattle Sounders, who are a soccer team, and we just got the Kraken, which are an ice hockey team. So we have all sorts of professional sports here, if that's your bag, and we have the University of Washington college sports. So now we have the Seattle Reign, which is a women's basketball professional team, but when I was a kid, we didn't, and I played basketball, so we used to go watch the Husky women compete, which was a lot of fun and less expensive than watching professional sports. And they're a huge school, so they have gymnastics and a lot of other sports that you can go watch. They have crew races, a lot of things that you might not find in the mainstream sports world. But if you're a golfer or a tennis player and you want to see people competing at a high level, taking advantage of the college level competitions to go and watch and see what people are doing can really inspire you and help elevate your game. Outside of the sports world, in the art world, we also have an amazing number of things to do, from going to the Seattle Art Museum, to the Burke Natural History Museum, to the Mohi Museum of History and Industry, talking about the lumber in the industry of Washington as it evolved from its statehood starting in 1889. There are a lot of different, I really like history, but there are art museums as well. There's theater, there's ballet, there's opera, there's improv, there are comedy clubs. It's just fantastic. So if you are someone that wants to get a pair of hot tickets and go do something fun on the weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if you could do something different every weekend for a year and not ever repeat. So I hope that gives you just a real sense of the resources that are here that you can take advantage of. And the last one that I wanted to do to kind of surprise you here at the end was to say the best reason that you should move here is our weather. And I know that I've even complained about it before, that Seattle gets a bad rap because sometimes, yes, it is cloudy and rainy, a little bit of that London type of weather, 50 degrees, damp and cold. It doesn't seem exciting. But I will say that's not bad in the winter. If you're otherwise fighting cold, freezing weather, you can't go outside. We can almost always go outside. If you're a runner or a jogger or a dog walker and you want to be able to go outside, yes, you might have to wear a raincoat. Yes, you might have to take an umbrella, but you're not going to be uncomfortable if you dress correctly for the weather. Likewise, in the summer, my dad is from Wisconsin. He says our Seattle summers are our best kept secret. They are not too hot, they are not too buggy, and they are not too humid. It's like 75, sunny and dry. It's a real Mediterranean climate, and it's just fantastic. A lot of people, I went to college in North Carolina, and they said they didn't like the summer, they liked the autumn. And I couldn't understand it until I realized that their autumn is essentially our summer weather. So just beautiful blue skies, warm days. You sit out on the lawn, drinking lemonade, doing cartwheels, running through the sprinkler. It's a beautiful life here in Seattle, and I'm looking forward to meeting you and helping you become a part of it. Thank you so much. Make sure you catch our next video coming up here, right here for you. And if you have any questions about moving to the area, I am a real estate agent. I'd be happy to assist you. You can find out more about me on my website, homeproassociates.com. Click the button, let me know if you're buying or selling. Feel free to reach out through our contact page. Until then, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video, and thanks so much for watching.